That's right, folks. Strap yourselves in. We've got another absolute barn burner for you. This time, Captain Telis is taking on Umais with a spread Cygor defensive position here. Double Cygor, including the Eye of Morslib, Regiment of Renown. Beastmen versus Warrior, sorry, not Warriors of Chaos, Chaos Dwarfs even, although they do have some Chaos Dwarf Warriors. No, it looks like, yeah, the Regiment of Renown actually, Blazing Beards. Some Iron Sworn in here, Infernal Guard as well, so quite an elite infantry build from UIs. Very interesting, actually. With a couple of Castellans here, and Astrogoth Iron Hand. It definitely looks like the goal here is to win at Conquest, move up, capture this objective, and hold out. We've got the two Cygors throwing rocks, should feast against that elite infantry. Some Harpies in the sky here, Ungor Raiders. 3 of them. Volume of fire will be good, but they'll struggle to get through the armor and missile block chance of these Infernal Guard and Iron Sworn. Spearmen Herd also don't really have anything to fight here, but that's fine. There'll be some bodies to throw in, and we've got some Centaurs over on this side as well. Obviously, the Great Weapons with their armor piercing will be very necessary, because it's very heavy and tall dwarf build. Tall hats, heavy build, very thematic. We've got, yeah, the Iron Sworn, Infernal Guard, Blazing Beards, and then the 2 Castellans will be able to apply at least a little bit of range pressure from the defensive position. So Umais here moves up, takes the objective, and yeah, it makes a lot of sense. The Cygors would throw their rocks at the Iron Sworn specifically. They are the most expensive unit here after all. I might, if I were in the Beastman's position here, given how the Chaos Dwarfs want to play this, move my Cygors up just a bit so their accuracy is a little better as they're trying to hit these high-value targets. But Blazing Beard's also feeling some pain there. And that tightly packed infantry is definitely going to be an ideal target. Ooh, a brutal side shot there. Does more than a quarter HP in one hit off of that unit of Infernal Guard. So pretty good stuff so far for the Beastmen, but will they be able to win this in time? This is very much a kind of race against the clock here. DPS check, as they would have called it in different time and place. Yeah, these the Infernal Guard already, though, taking some mad damage. The Cygors have used up a sizable amount of their ammunition already. Base 25 ammo, looks like 7-8 shots used each. So pretty good stuff value-wise. Already over 1,000 on one. The other one not quite there yet, but maybe some value not being counted there, honestly. But yeah, brutal Pit of Shades here, going to eliminate the Blazing Beards. So, I mean, purely from a battlefield perspective, obviously the Chaos Dwarfs getting punished pretty heavily, but Infernal Iron Sworn do come forward. They're going to throw their bombs, absolutely explode these Ungor Raiders, probably just straight rout these units here, which is, yep, that's exactly what's happening. Flaming Sword of Ruin as well from Astrogoth. And those Iron Sworn a little juiced up. Cascading Fire Cloak as well for additional melee defense as they try and weather the storm of goats here. And Centaurs. I mean, Centaurs are not really goats. Neither are Harpies. Anyway, you know what I mean. The Harpies here, again, they don't really have any great targets to go after. At best can be used to kind of harass, maybe chase some routing units here. But Captain Telis wisely kind of keeping them away. This one drops on the very weakened Blazing Beards. And some of the Ungor Raiders getting some damage in. I'd imagine the damage so far is pretty minimal. Yeah, given the earlier discussed shields and armor. But Umai is starting to get pulled a little bit out of position here. It does just want to throw grenades at whatever he can, which makes sense. Maybe it would have been better to switch out these shielded Infernal Guard, rather, for some Fire Glaives, just to be able to have a little bit more of a ranged response here. Be able to kind of poke back. But it would have been a little bit more vulnerable to certain attacks. What do they have? Less unit models as well, so we'll definitely get pounded by the Cygors. Another Pit of Shades there. Going to do a nice job against the Iron Sworn. And the Great Bray Shaman moving in. He is going to take a good amount of damage. Only 80 armor on his chariot. He's got to be a little bit careful. Pretty good weapon strength on these Infernal Iron Sworn. 10 AP damage, 32 base weapon damage. He is taking some hits through this process, but yeah, that rock there landing, doing fairly minimal damage. There's a rock landing here on this Infernal Guard. Castellans actually will probably be one of the tougher components of this build to kill, given that the Beastmen don't really have great like anti-infantry character tools. Astrogoth also counting as infantry size is going to be a little bit of a problem. Just, you know, there's not a lot of units here that are going to fight them well directly. Especially the Cygors moving into melee combat. Castellans do have a very modest anti-large bonus of 15, which will help their melee attack against those big targets. So, yeah, not going to be the easiest thing, but certainly if the Beastmen can, like, saturate Castellans or Astrogoth in with infantry and manage to, you know, get like a favorable 2v1 Cygor or something, they definitely could beat down these Castellans and Astrogoth. But right now, infantry of the Chaos Dwarfs suffering many arrows and rocks dropped on their heads. Death by 1,000 cuts in many ways. How dishonorable to be killed by an Ungor, to be honest, if you're a Chaos Dwarf. One of these infernal guards. Gotta be sweaty under that flaming helmet, but anyway. Another Pit of Shades here. And yeah, I can see the Harpy is just like, where exactly should we go here? Maybe let's find this routing weakened unit. Blazing Beard's gonna get their grenades off just in time. They do some damage actually to the Great Bray Shaman himself. And yeah, the Castellans also have been poking. It looks like Bray Shaman the entire time, so loss of leadership will impact the Beastmen, certainly. It's another single entity as well that has some armor-piercing damage. Not a ton, honestly, especially with the wounds active. But let's see how things progress. Yeah, rocks continuing to land. Cygors should be moving into melee relatively soon. The Eye of Morsley probably hasn't used any of its hard snares here. Yeah, the Warp Gaze can be used to freeze units in place, but really hasn't needed to. It's been able to just control Mai's movements more or less with his own troops. Hasn't been any mobility threatening any backline areas, so it is what it is. But Astrogoth standing proud. Ooh, incoming. Actually hits one of those Castellans. Yeah, the Regiment of Renown. Ooh, hits that other Castellan too on the regular one. Looks like they are accurate enough to actually get some rocks on those single entities. They are using the last of their rocks right now, it looks like. Yep, that was the last shot for that one. Last shot for this one over here. So they are going to be forced to move into melee soon. Try and finish off these single entities. But this whole time, timer's ticking up. Or ticking down, depending on your perspective. Ooh, a little bit of friendly fire on that rock. Did a solid chunk of those Centaurs, and that is going to send them into routing. We'll get a little close as Astrogoth and his Castellans try and hold with the last their troops. I was going to say loyal. Actually, I have no idea. I'm assuming they're, you know, loyal through oppression. But let's not get too caught up in that. Astrogoth casting some magic here. Going to throw down another flaming Sword of Ruin. Or, you know, again, Castellans. This Infernal Guard is also managing to hold on to their leadership for the time being. Fighting tooth and nail. Probably getting some value. Yeah, not the best attack stats in the world, but great weapon strength. That flaming sword. And, yeah, Ungor Spearman Herd, not the most melee defense in the world. Their stats just generally pretty poor, so they're not going to do too much. Probably won't even finish off Castellan. And at this point, yeah, it's important to keep some infantry and other support units around for when the Cygors are forced to fight here. But, ooh, this is potentially a capture situation. You can see the Cygor rolling over to the objective with these Ungor Raiders trying to get enough cap weight here to finish things off. Eumize might just path his heroes through and onto, yep, exactly what he should do. Get directly onto the Eye of Morsley. Maybe could have used a snare to, like, isolate one of them, possibly. But the other Cygor is pretty far away. It wouldn't have had a lot of direct follow-up. Ooh, it did use the hard snare. Managed to catch the Infernal Guard with it. But even still, these three heroes are enough to outweigh, you know, these weakened expendable infantry. And not looking great right now for the Eye of Morsley. Just took a ton of damage in that engagement, having to trundle away, maybe lead those Chaos Dwarf heroes away from the objective, perhaps. But the Raiders, close range, managed to finish off the leadership of the Infernal Guard. And another Flaming Sword coming in for the Chaos Dwarf side. Maybe now we'll see a little cycle charging. The dreaded, absolutely forbidden Cygor cycle charge. What targets they're going to go after here. Eye of Morslib manages to get itself triangled by the Chaos Dwarf heroes, which is not what he wants, but the other Cygor is going to come in for a nice little rear charge, maybe, if it can get its stomp animation off. There we go. Getting some hits there. Yeah, I can see that one Castellan's getting pretty well pounded by that. Damage is kind of being spread around between the three of them, which is why this 3v2 situation is eventually going to go in the way. Yeah, you can see the Eye of Morslib will keep his health bar up as he goes down here. A little cascading fire cloak on one of the Castellans. This other Cygor should probably try and disengage while he can. But the tickets are getting real close, or, 110 seconds-ish away from victory for the Chaos Dwarfs. So Beastmen have got to make their move quickly. Don't have too much time to try and cycle charge and get real clever with positioning. But got to find out what's efficient and quick to execute. Try and get it done in the next minute or so. Yeah, I can see this is good, potentially, for Telis, as he gets Astrogoth isolated away from the two Castellans. Likewise, the perfect vigor of the Centaurs is coming in super clutch right now. The fact that their stats are not being debuffed at all, they can still take advantage of their full charge bonus in a surround against these Castellans, can do some pretty solid damage. So, yeah, they unfortunately maybe just shatter there, but, yeah, we've got another unit here. As long as their leadership is not wavering, they've got this Rowdy passive, which is just so strong. Absolutely incredible. And even armor piercing, the Centaurs charge in here. Yeah, they're going to do some really nice damage before their leadership is likely finished off, but they managed to, it looks like, maybe break the Castellans. The one Cygor here as well. Astrogoth is not managing to get a lot of damage on him. Cygor's getting some favorable dice rolls. Support is on his side as well, with all these Centaurs, and the Ungors also kind of distracting, getting maybe some hits, but mostly just, kind of screening and distracting. Ooh, looks like one Castellan, yeah, gets pushed away. Other one does manage to unify, go shoulder to shoulder with Astrogoth. And let's see. It is getting real close. We'll keep the UI up so you can see the tickets count. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh, the capture. The capture for the Beastmen was ticking up, and with one cap left, literally, they managed to hold on, buy just enough time to finish off this Castellan. Terror kicks in for him and the other one. They both rout, and suddenly it's Astrogoth versus all this. More than he can handle. The giant Cygor, sensing his spell casting, he's going to just pound him with a rock here, and that will be the game. Elis manages to squeak out a win by the absolute skin of his Cygor horn. And that will be eventually the game. Astrogoth hangs on for a little longer, but very well played to both. Yumai is, playing to the mode definitely with this build and just trying to hold out. I respect it. It's very dwarven kind of mentality for sure. Very thematic. It would have been even more thematic for Order Dwarfs, to be honest, but also thematic for the Chaos Dwarfs, and almost ended up being effective if it wasn't for those dang Cygors, both of which got 2,700 value, almost 20,000 damage dealt apiece. Looks like 18 on one, 20 on the other. Yeah, I mean, the spread Cygor is something that I used to do all the time in Warhammer 2. Even in Warhammer 1, like, I played around with this idea a little bit, but it's definitely one that has been very effective historically against certain factions and builds. Obviously, Chaos Dwarfs have the mobility somewhat to contest against something like this, but especially if you think your opponent is going to go for a very heavy infantry build like this, great way to try and pull them apart a little bit, really, maximize the value of those Cygors at range, and also get some good value in the late game of them kind of fighting these enemy single entities as well in melee, with support, of course, but still very cool. Love to see it. Cygor is honestly, low-key, one of my favorite monsters, maybe my favorite monster for the Beastmen roster. It's just so hilarious, this giant Cyclops throwing rocks at you. I don't know. Very, very Warhammer, to be honest. But, yeah, on Yumai's side, obviously the value wasn't necessarily what he was going for, but some of the I should say, of the Ironsworn manages to do a decent job. Yeah, I can't help but think maybe, again, trade some of these other Ironsworn out for, like, the Fireglaves, or, like, the Infernal Guard out for some Fireglaves, just to have a little bit of ranged response to kind of poke back But the Fireglaves do have less unit models and are still quite vulnerable to the Cygors, so still would have been a problem on that front. Yeah, they got, what, 80 unit models versus 100 and an extra, like, 4,000 HP almost for the regular Iron Infernal Guard. Yeah, they're also, you know, like 250 points more expensive, so there's that to consider as well. But yeah, definitely a very interesting game for sure. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. I know I sure did. If you did, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification. Every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.